Are you ready? Well, get comfy, folks. It's story time.
My stalker story starts out like many others. I am a normal girl, just trying to live a normal life. There is nothing special about me, but I seem to attract the attention of all the wrong people. Maybe this was all my fault. I'll let you guys be the judge of that. I work the midnight shift at a popular gas station in a low-income, high-crime neighbourhood. We are open 24 hours and I get a lot of the crazy customers. Most of them are drunk or on some kind of drugs, but my creepiest customer of all was Ted. Ted was your average, everyday semi-truck driver. On Sundays he would come in at 1 in the morning, and the rest of the week he would come in at 3. Everyone at my job knew him by name and would always welcome him with a smile. So he seemed like a safe kind of guy. He was friendly, always looking for someone to talk to and laugh with. We would talk about life. I told him about my husband and the crazy way we met. He told me about his divorce and how he got an amazing motorcycle out of it. After a while of talking, our conversation became comfortable. He was my best regular after all. I told him about my upcoming vacation and how I had just turned 21 and planned on going bar hopping with my best friend. He told me that I was dangerous and that he had to watch out for me. Being my sarcastic self and knowing that I am the least dangerous person I know, I responded with, "Oh yeah, I'm so dangerous." After a while, Ted suggested that we hang out. Now remember, he is a 56-year-old single and ready man, and I am a 21-year-old timid and very married girl. We should not be hanging out. I would always tell him that my husband wouldn't like that, but he kept insisting. The thing about me is that I'm terrible at turning people down, so I just told him that I didn't know my work schedule yet, or that I would be busy on the day he wanted to hang out. He gave me his number, and I threw it directly into the trash when he left. About a week went by, and he let me know what week in May he would be on vacation, and he begged me to let him take me to the beach. I continued to tell him that I didn't know what my schedule would be for that week. Well, eventually the week in May rolled around and Ted began his vacation. He saw me at work taking out the trash and he cornered me to tell me. Now this part requires some explanation, so stay with me. The way we take out the trash at work is we load all the bags into a Walmart-sized shopping cart and wheel it out to the dumpster. The dumpster is located on the side of the building where there are conveniently no cameras, and surrounded by 3 walls of bricks and 2 large metal doors to keep the homeless people out. Opening one metal door allows enough space for the shopping cart and my body to fit in, so that's usually what I do, easy in and easy out. I was inside the dumpster area loading all the trash bags in, and I see a vehicle pull up to me. It's 3 in the morning at this point, so it is dark and the headlights were blinding. There is an exit right by the dumpster, so a car passing me isn't unusual. But the vehicle stopped, taking away any room I had to get out and blocking me in. Then someone stepped out of the vehicle and approached me. He was just a shadow figure with the lights behind him, but once he spoke I knew it was Ted. He told me he was finally on vacation and we could have our beach date at last. I didn't speak, as I was frightened, knowing that I was cornered and had nowhere to run if I needed to. Then he said something that sent chills down my spine. "When we are done at the beach, I will take you back to my hotel room." I froze, having never given him any reason to think that was okay. He noticed the obvious terror on my face and tried to backtrack. You know, where we will watch movies and eat popcorn. I'm an adult. I've been to a few hotel rooms myself, and I know what 2 grown adults do in them. I didn't know what to say, so I just stayed silent. Eventually he got the hint and left. The next day, Ted came in to see me at work, and this time he wasn't playing around. He walked straight to the display of peanuts we had in the front of the store and grabbed a bag. "Gotta have your daily bag of nuts," he said, looking directly at me as he put them on the counter. "I have a bag of nuts for you," he winked at me. My typical welcoming smile had faded and I was done acting nice around him. I told him I hate nuts, and he looked at me like I wasn't getting the joke. Oh, I got it, and I meant what I said. I hate nuts. He walked away and grabbed the rest of his items and came up to pay. As he was about to leave, he turned around. "I forgot something. Let me go get it, so I'll be ready for you." He walked right down the aisle I was afraid he was going to, and came back with a box of condoms. I could feel his stare as I rang them up, but I couldn't look at him. I would have puked if I had. In the days following, I hid from him. Having already memorised his daily schedule, I would always go to stock the cooler whenever he was about to come in. He figured this out and would open the doors to talk to me. One day I went to the bathroom and he had the nerve to bang on the door and ask why I was hiding. He even asked my co-worker where I was on the nights I wasn't at work. It had got to the point where I would break into a full sprint whenever I saw his truck pull up, and I know he saw me. I wanted him to see that I wanted nothing to do with him. For a while it seemed to finally make sense to him. He almost stopped coming in, and when he did, we didn't speak. But the creepiest of all wasn't while I was at work. It was while I was laying in my bed about to go to sleep, and I saw my phone light up next to me. The light of the screen blinded me at first. I black out my room to help me sleep during the day, but once my eyes adjusted, I saw his face. Ted was staring at me through the Facebook notification, which let me know I had one new friend request. I have no idea how he found me. I never wore my name tag at work, and even if I did, it didn't have my last name on it. He had to do some serious searching to find me. I immediately blocked him, but unfortunately my address and phone number was public on my profile, and more than likely seen by him. I know, I shouldn't have had my info public. It has since been changed. I put in my 2 weeks right away. I had to come back to work since then though. A girl's got to make money, and it's hard out here. During my time away, my husband and I came to the store to get some drinks, and I saw Ted's truck pull up. Before anyone asks, yes, my husband knew everything Ted had done. I threw my arms around my husband and he kissed me. It was a passionate, over-the-top, The Notebook kind of kiss, and Ted saw all of it. He looked at me with all the rage in the world. We quickly left after that, but a few minutes later I got a text from my co-worker who was there at the time. She said that he was loudly mumbling to himself about how he couldn't believe I would kiss all over some guy in public but wouldn't sleep with him. Nothing has happened since, but he could come in at any minute and I always get a little worried at 1 and 3 in the morning. I know this isn't the craziest of stories and I'm very thankful for that, but I needed to share it somewhere. Thank you guys for listening. A couple of years back when I was in college, I was the victim of a long-term stalker. I've been asked to clarify. I am male. I was 20 at the time. This is a pretty long story and really builds on itself. I've cut it down a bit to be more coherent, but I have not changed any facts. Also, a quick note, in the texting sections, the things I say are always prefaced with me, and the other stuff in quotes is the stalker. It started out fairly innocuous. On Valentine's Day, I started to receive secret admirer type text messages from an unknown number. I assumed it was a friend of mine playing a joke as I was in a room with a handful of tech-savvy people at the time. I tried to gauge their reactions and asked if anyone was messing with me. They all denied it, and I believed them. They're pretty bad liars. It was further confirmed that it was none of them when I got a phone call from the number. A voice on the other end says, "Is this my name?" I replied, "Yes, who's this?" hoping I could identify the voice. At that point they hung up and resumed texting. At the time a lot of my friends lived together, and the people who didn't live there and enjoyed pranks weren't really committed or knowledgeable enough to sign up for a fake number texting service. Things started to get weird when the person began asking pretty personal questions, including repeatedly asking, "Are you doing something tonight?" To which I replied, "Yes." I was working, by the way. But they kept insisting that we should meet up. On top of all this, I was getting various images sent to me from a separate email. Username at textnow.me. This confirmed it wasn't a real number, and now I had a username to connect to the person. I don't know if it was their intention, but I actually enjoy trying to figure out shit like this, and took it upon myself to expose this person without giving away anything about myself. So I kept it up. I texted them back for a while, and dug more and more information about the person, compiling it into a profile and eliminating possibilities. Unfortunately, this just encouraged them, as they insisted I send pictures. Take pic, pics add to the convo, etc. Then they sent a weird one. A white lacy dress hanging in their closet with the accompanying text, "My wedding dress for when I marry you." Various heart and love emojis. Pic of your reaction. Me, no. Why not? Please, pic of your surroundings please. Your room, your face, anything more. Me, you gotta tell me who you are, otherwise I'm definitely not sending you any pictures. Stalker, I'm not telling you who I am until I feel comfortable. You've got to be fucking kidding me. You're the one who's uncomfortable? They continued to pry about where I was going to be that evening, and I still refused to give details. Then they dropped where they were going to be. A party on campus that night. I couldn't go regardless, I was working. I should also mention that the texting conversation was all over the place. It was like 3 different people were all trying to talk to me about different things all at once. Again, I was bombarded with personal questions about past relationships and what kind of girl do you find yourself most attracted to? There was a little bit more back and forth, not too interesting. Then I got another bombshell. They asked if I lived in apartment 68, which I did, but I lied. Me, close but not quite. Stalker, oh, could have sworn. Where do you live? Are you involved with anyone at the minute? I recognised the style of apartment they were in based on a picture from earlier, so I decided to throw a curveball. Me, you live in this complex, right? Stalker, what? How do you know? Me, I recognised your door. All the shitty apartments had the same colour door frame, which was visible in the edge of a picture they sent. The conversation kind of fizzled out here. I didn't go to that party, and didn't get any more texts. Among the pictures they sent were some screenshots of my Facebook, photos of their bed, a pipe, some posters, pretty boring stuff. So that was February. Fast forward to October, the following school year. I was a senior, and busy as fuck. One evening I got a text from an unknown number. Is this my full name? So I played dumb, pretending like I wasn't freaking out that after many months this person was contacting me again, and I still hadn't figured out who it was. These questions were instantly more personal and really weirded me out. Stalker, don't ruin the fun. Not knowing who I am is part of the mystery. I won't tell you who I am, not now. Too much to lose. I don't want you to know. Not because I'm being cruel. It's just better if you didn't know. Me, that doesn't make sense. Stalker, trust me, you don't want to know. You'll be better off not knowing. Trust me. Me, okay, whatever. Why are you texting me again? Stalker, are you mad at me? I just have no one to talk to. Does my personhood really matter? Can we talk about something else? Me, like what? I'm pretty tired of this shit. I'm trying to work, but I do want to see if I can pick out any more details, so I'm doing the bare minimum to keep this going. Stalker, do you celebrate Halloween? I guess I'm boring you. I have a better question. Have you ever been in love? Me, no. Stalker, how do you know if you've never experienced it? For a response so extreme, you'd think you've experienced it before. But I guess it's a matter of perspective. You must be a godly man then. These texts are coming so fast I can't keep up. Stalker, was that too harsh? Me, Stalker, what a response. Bye. Explosion and violin emojis. The next day, around the same time, I get another text. Keep in mind the person is referring to their friend, but I honestly believe this friend is made up. Stalker, I was talking to my friend about you today. Me, who's your friend? Stalker, don't you want to know what we talked about? Me, yeah, sure. Then, like 3 hours later, they replied. Stalker, we just talked about how you seemed like the type of person to fall in love easily. You're a sap. Not in a negative way, just an observation. Like you're wishing for the one. Me, haha. Stalker, all you care about is finding my identity. That would be the most awkward thing ever. Why so eager? Wouldn't you be weirded out? Me, probably not. That was a lie, by the way. Stalker, we've been in class before. Me, what year? Stalker, Maybe if you got to know me, you'd figure it out. Me. Okay, tell me about yourself. Stalker. Hey, why didn't you comment about the observation my friend and I made? Say how you feel. Me. What does that mean? Stalker. Say how you feel. This makes me uncomfortable. You never ask me any questions. I started messing with them, asking really random questions. This made them really mad. Me. Do you like cats? Do you like long walks on the beach? Stalker. I live by the beach. Me. Which one? Stalker. A famous one. A lot of people have sex on the beach under the blanket of night. Me. Near a city. Stalker. How do you like state and town I'm from? Me. How do you know I'm from there? Stalker. The internet is my best friend. Are you nervous? You're just a boy. You are boyish. Let's admit it's nothing bad. It's cute. How old are you? Me. You haven't figured this out already? Stalker. When's your birthday? The month and day, please. Tell me now. I just want to know your sign. Me. Virgo. Stalker. Oh my god, I like Virgos. You're obedient, submissive, like a puppy dog. Isn't that funny? I just laughed. Now I'll ask you a question. Have you been in a relationship before? Why did your relationship fail? Me. Not telling you about this. Stalker. This is annoying. Then they sent me a ton of different random photos from Google. Stalker. My friend asked me to ask you something, but I don't think I will. Me. What? Stalker. Can we change subjects now? How was your day? Mine was bad, but I don't want to relive it again. It was something I did wrong, so I only have myself to blame. She wanted to ask something intimate, but I'm not going to share, since you don't like talking about that. It's extreme, you're probably not going to answer. I feel sick asking it. Don't have me. I'm just the messenger. I'm embarrassed. You're not going to answer. Me. I could. Stalker. Okay, so we really want to know if you're a virgin or not. Scratch the virgin part. If had intercourse is a better phrase. I knew you wouldn't answer. I didn't answer, and they didn't write anything else. That was all October. This is December, the end of the semester. Hey. Me. Who's this? Stalker. It's me. I can tell you who I am. When I leave campus, I'm never going to see you again. But I can tell you who I am. Me. Okay, tell me. Stalker. When I leave campus, I'm never going to see you again. I'm going to be gone. You're so serious. Hello? I'm leaving next week, so... You're ruining it though. Now I want to punch you. Sorry, I didn't need to send the last one. Oops. Then they proceed to call me multiple times. I denied every call, but they kept coming. I think there were 14 calls that night. Then a text from a new fake number. Oh my god, sent free from textnow.com. Me. Please stop texting me. Then there were more calls. I turned my phone off. The following week I was in the class I TA'd. Students were presenting their final work on the projector, and I had queued multiple tabs on the projection computer. 2 different students had work on Google Drive. When the second student logged into their account, they didn't open a private window, so it logged out the first student. Hope that makes sense. I saw this happen, but the first student wasn't in the room, so when she came back I asked her to re-log in. We were both standing by the projection booth. She was at one end on the computer, and I was messing with the sound system on the other side. But I happened to turn and look at the projector screen when she was logging into Google. This hit me like a ton of bricks. The username she logged in with was the same username as the TextNow account that had been sending me photos. I quickly turned away and pretended to be busy with something until she finished opening her work. I thanked her and she left the booth without realising her mistake. I tried to play it cool, but inside I was going crazy for the rest of class. After almost a year, I knew who it was. She finally slipped up, and honestly I was much more scared now than I had ever been. This person had a history of being pretty creepy around my friends, and although she had never personally interacted with me outside class, all of my friends had strange experiences. Side note, here are 2 abbreviated ones to fully illustrate this craziness. My friend Michael was working endlessly on his thesis in the building. He was about 50 hours into a no-sleep work binge, and it's like 7 AM. She walks in and starts working on a computer in the lab. Another guy, Dave, comes in and remarks about Michael. "You're still here?" Michael: "I've been working for days, starting to see things out of the corner of my eye. Sometimes I see a tall man in a suit." She immediately turns around and says, "You see him too?" Michael has no idea what to say, and Dave makes a joke about it being the ghost of the building. She doesn't say anything and goes back to work. Another friend, Isaac, also worked late in this building and sometimes would find her waiting outside the front door around 3 AM, and she would follow him home. Occasionally she showed up outside his store at night and demanded to be let in. One time, while I was actually at his place, she came to the back door with a peephole and knocked for upwards of 20 minutes. We pretended not to be home and shut all the blinds on the front of the house and went upstairs. There's plenty more to tell about their interactions, including one where she attacked him at a party, but that's delving way into another story. Edit. Isaac wrote a comment going into a little more detail from his perspective. So point being, she kind of had a reputation in our friend group, and we generally tried to keep our distance. I had always assumed I was immune. Sorry to say, there's really no conclusion to the story. Someone advised me to file a complaint with the school and try to get a restraining order or something. I figured if we all talked to someone and explained our experiences, we could at least keep her from showing up at our front door. I made a meeting with a counsellor who seemed to really care and offered to look into it. A couple of weeks later, he emailed me. "This student is going abroad next semester, so we're not going to do anything." I insisted that at least something temporary be put into place, and although I was graduating at the end of that year, Isaac would be returning for 1 more year. Michael had graduated a year before me. They didn't do anything, but what did I expect? This school is pretty notorious for not giving a shit. I didn't run into her again. She hasn't texted me again, and Isaac ended up taking a year off. So for the time being, that is where the story ends. I do have screenshots and all the photos, but I'm hesitant to share them in the interest of anonymity. Thanks for understanding. Picture it. Hometown, 2003. I was 25, a year out of college, working my first grown-up job, and had been living alone in my apartment for about 6 months. When I arrived home to find the phone ringing, I missed the call, checked the caller ID, and didn't recognise the number. The area code was from my old college town about an hour away. I went about my business, but within a couple of minutes the same number called again. Unknown caller. "Hey girl, how are you? It's been such a long time." Me. "Hi, who's this?" Unknown caller. "Girl, it's Mandy, what are you up to?" I knew 4 Mandys. None lived in College Town, none called me girl all the time, and none sounded like a valley girl on uppers. Me. "Mandy who?" Mandy. "Oh my gosh, we have so much to catch up on. So you've moved back to hometown, that's great. Where are you working? Are you still dating that guy from high school? I so thought you all would end up together. How are your parents? Where do you live in hometown? What are you up to tonight?" Wait, this 5th Mandy? Mandy Jones from school? I mean, we'd been friends when we took dance in elementary school, but we'd long since lost touch. Why in the world would she be calling me now? This didn't feel right. Me. Hey. Yeah, so I'm working at a local business in hometown. What are you up to? Mandy. "Oh, that's great. I always knew you'd really be somebody. So where do you live now? And are you still dating that guy from school? That really cute one." Weird. I had one boyfriend in high school. He attended a different school, so we broke up after a couple of months. Hardly a love story for the ages. Me. So, this is Mandy who again? Mandy. "Girl, Mandy! Come on now, so..." And she continues blathering on, asking all kinds of personal questions, which I kept dodging. She kept wanting to know where I lived. Answering hometown wasn't enough. And what about the cute guy from school? Me. "Okay, look, I don't know who you are, and I have no idea how you got this number." Mandy. "Mandy! Mandy Roper. Girl, I know it's been a while, but you should know that. We played volleyball together. You wrote this number in my yearbook and I just came across it and thought we should catch up. All the red flags. A few things you should know about Mandy Roper. 1. She sounds less like a chirpy valley girl and more like someone who started smoking a pack a day at the age of 4. 2. While we did play volleyball, and softball and all the other balls together, I guarantee that if you asked her, Mandy would tell you we played basketball together. Mostly because... 3. Basketball is the reason Mandy Roper hated my guts. I was one of the handful of freshmen on the varsity team, and within 2 weeks of joining the team, had made an enemy of the scariest bitch on the team. It's a very long, very silly teenage girl drama that isn't relevant to the rest of this tale. Just keep in mind that Mandy would rather have told me to go fuck myself with a rusty spork than have tea and a chat. So, going into the story and why Mandy hates me, just very briefly. She immediately didn't like any of us freshmen who made varsity. I irritated her further by being quiet, rather shy, and I always tried to do what my coaches said. I was scared of my own shadow, so I was easy to pick on. What started the actual trouble was one afternoon during a passing drill. We changed lines in between turns. I was in line behind her BFF, the other scary bitch on the team. Mandy came up behind me and yelled that I was screwing everyone up, I was in the wrong line, blah blah. I finally spoke up for myself and said, "No, I'm not. I've been following Nicole the whole time." Nicole was always looking for an argument, even with her friends, and snapped at Mandy. "You saying I'm in the wrong line?" Anyway, that started a weird dynamic. Nicole became my self-appointed bodyguard. She took me under her wing, I think just because she loved how much it drove Mandy nuts. From then on, it was a fight between the two of them, but Mandy always blamed me for starting it. I probably made it worse because every time she started eyeballing me, I'd get as close to Nicole as I could. Mandy never actually physically harmed me, but if looks could kill. Anyway. 4. I'd gotten that phone number when I moved into my apartment 6 months previously, so I couldn't have given it to her in high school. Also, I would have faked my own death before purposefully giving that crazy lady my number. So I told Mandy Roper as much. Me. "You don't sound like Mandy Roper. I couldn't have given you this number in high school because I've only had it for a couple of months, and Mandy Roper hates me. She is the last person who would ever give a crap about what I'm doing right now. Who is this really?" Mandy. Me. "Seriously, who are you?" Mandy. "Fuck you." Click. Over the next week, maybe 2, I had several hang-ups in my office, and a rose was left on my doorstep that my then boyfriend denied having left. I was literally clueless about stalking and harassment and whatnot, so I wasn't really sure what to do. After it seemed the hang-ups weren't going to stop, I called a friend who still lived in College Town and asked her cop husband what to do. He took the number and looked it up for me, then called the house. Most he could figure out is that there was a little old lady who lived alone, and seemed thoroughly confused by the whole story, and swore no one else could have used her phone. My dear, dear friend Mandy must have been someone close to little old lady though, because all of it stopped after he made that call. It wasn't until years later that I realised why someone chose to pretend to be Mandy Roper. We played volleyball together one single year, and it just so happens that we were seated next to one another in the team photo in the yearbook. We were both smiling in that pic. We'd simply gotten used to ignoring each other by then. So, someone, somewhere, got their hands on an 8-year-old yearbook from someone I went to school with, looked me up, picked the person sitting beside me in the team photo, then called and harassed me for a couple of weeks. I sit here 14 years later, still unclear on the who, what, when, where, why and how, but Mandy Roper, let's not meet. P.S. I figure there will be questions, so here are my answers. I have no reason to think Cute Boy from high school was actually involved. Seriously, we broke up nearly 7 years prior and had no contact after we graduated. I initially thought it was college ex's ex Becky, who he dated before me, and had always disliked me. She still lived in College Town, but I could never tie her to little old lady and the phone number in question. Also, college ex saw Becky was way too timid to try something like that. She'd be more likely to cry and write volumes of poetry while listening to Jewel. I eventually, belatedly of course, realised it had to be a direct result of dating then-boyfriend Joe Dirtbag. because I'm fairly certain he had a girl in every port, so to speak, and most of them were as crazy as a cat in heat. Mandy Roper faded into the ether. I do see real Mandy Roper though. We avoid one another in the grocery store. She still looks like she wants to hunt me down and stuff me in a locker. This happened a few years ago, and suffice to say, I don't like being home alone anymore. I was a 21-year-old female in my 3rd year of university. I live in England. My boyfriend and I lived about 2 minutes away, and we often stayed at each other's houses, although there wasn't an exact routine to it. The city we lived in wasn't known for being particularly safe, but I never once felt threatened. Although I was a country girl at heart, I never took unnecessary risks, but even walking through typically unsafe parks in the dark after choir, I was never given reason to be alarmed. Scary things always happen to someone else, right? My boyfriend lived in a house with 3 other guys, one of whom dropped out halfway through the year. The house had a previous history of break-ins, and just before they rented, it had a new lock fitted on the front door. The previous year, a burglar had actually knocked the door down, despite it facing a busy street. That being the case, everyone was pretty diligent in locking the doors, whether we were inside or not. On the night in question, my boyfriend was out at his band rehearsal, having left at 6:30 p.m, and his 2 remaining housemates left to go to the pub at 8 p.m. I wasn't much of a drinker, so I opted to stay at home, and in the blissful hour to myself, I decided to have a shower. Now, I'm in my university choir and I absolutely adore singing, so I grabbed my phone and speaker and headed to the bathroom. I don't often get a chance to really blast it out when people are in the house, out of consideration for them, so I was relishing the opportunity. My phone was at about 15%, but I figured it'd last for the majority of my time in there, and I could just charge it up when I get out. So I'm in the shower having an absolute banger of a time when my phone predictably dies about 20 minutes in. I was done washing a few minutes ago, so I just get out and dry and head to my boyfriend's room. As soon as I walked out of the bathroom, I got this feeling that something wasn't right. I was home alone, but I had this horrible tense feeling like I wasn't the only one in the house, even though the house was absolutely silent, save the slight sound of traffic. I shrugged it off, figuring I'm just being paranoid, and dumped my stuff on the bed. To give some context, the room is pretty large, with a desk opposite the door, large bay windows with curtains drawn across them, and to the left is a large wardrobe. My boyfriend often liked to hang sheets and duvet covers to dry on their open doors, which drove me mad because it looked so untidy. The reason I bring this up is that immediately I felt like something was off. Firstly, the bedroom light was on, and I could have sworn I'd switched it off. And secondly, the sheet that was hanging on the wardrobe was now in a crumpled heap on the floor, and the wardrobe door was shut. Cold shivers ran up and down my body, and honestly I still get shivers thinking about that moment. The first moment I realised someone was in my room, and I was absolutely completely defenceless. Frozen for a moment or two, and then the thought occurred to me that maybe someone had broken in, as it had happened before. Then I just interrupted them. It seemed like the most logical explanation, so I grabbed my phone and made out like someone had called me. "Oh, hi, Katie." My voice was too high-pitched and fake, but I carried on with my oh-so-clever ploy. "Yeah, I'm just getting ready. I don't need to—" I cursed and forced a laugh at this point. I cringe at how unconvincing it was, but I was like a cornered rabbit. "I forgot to shave my legs. I'll nip and do that now. Talk to you in a second." Clutching my dead phone to my chest, I pretty much bolted for the bathroom, locked the door, switched the shower on, and switched off the light. I sat opposite the door, shaking and crying, watching the light streaming in and waiting for the person to pass me and run downstairs. I saw the shadow of their footsteps before they arrived, but instead of going downstairs, they halted just outside the door. I clapped a hand over my mouth to stop myself sobbing out loud, and I swear the creepiest voice I've ever heard rasped, "I know you in there, little girl." I tried to shout, but in reality my voice broke as I said, "I'm calling the police right now." The man just laughed and laughed, banging on the door harder and harder until I thought it would break. Then he stopped, and the banging was replaced by something altogether more sinister. a scratching, scraping sound up and down the door. I practically wet myself there and then, trying to find something to defend myself with. The best I had was the disgusting toilet brush and a can of shaving foam. All of a sudden, everything stopped, and I could hear him absolutely legging it down the stairs and into the kitchen. Seconds later, I heard the front door bang, and then eventually someone walked up the stairs. I was still holding my makeshift weapons and crying so hard I could barely see, when I heard my boyfriend swear, and I finally managed to unlock the door and let him in. Turns out there were grooves all down the door. The man had a knife. He was scraping down the door with a knife. I made my boyfriend call the police and stay with me till they arrived, even though he wanted to check the house over to make sure the man had actually gone. I was so scared though that he ended up sitting in the bathroom with me until they arrived, took a statement and scanned for prints. Turns out one of the guys had left the back door open when he went to check the meter. That means whoever snuck in here knew it was left open. We were otherwise very diligent about locking the doors, as I've said, and they knew that no one else but me was in the house. They also must have entered someone's house, whose back garden faced our garden, or they must have sneaked in the flats next door to climb over the wall separating the properties. If he did that, someone must have let him in. My boyfriend's rehearsal finished about half an hour early, meaning that he was back before the man clearly expected. My only explanation is that he must have had someone watching outside, because that's the only way he'd have had time to bolt down the stairs, in full view of the front door, and out the back door, still in plain sight, if he hadn't had some prior warning. This means someone else was involved, and I shudder to think what might have happened in the extra half hour he thought he had. The thing that really gets me, though, is how he knew I'd be at my boyfriend's house, which room I was in, and he brought a knife. That wasn't an accident. He'd been watching. He knew where we would all be, and he knew exactly what he was doing. The police found prints, but it wasn't in their system, and they never found him. The bastard's still out there, doing who knows what, and no one knows who he is. I know it's not my fault, and if I did anything differently I might not be here to tell the tale, but I wish I had been able to do something more to identify him and get him off the streets. I can't bear the thought of him succeeding where he failed with me.